Starting? Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's episode of The Stand. I'm your host, George. I'm here with Lance. Shane's currently manning the camera. He'll be here in a second. Want to welcome you to the show tonight. It's a little bit more lighthearted tonight. A lot of insanity to talk about. A little left-wing lunacy. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Always.
They're crazy, and we're just going to point out a few of the crazy things they've come up with this week. And of course, we'll touch on some of the.
We good?
We're back on.
Okay.
Oh, welcome back. Where was I at? Basically, talking about briefly about the eclipse. I've always said the eclipse is not a real big deal. There's always an eclipse somewhere. You're just not where you are. There's always some place in the universe where the moon is between you and the sun. Just unless you happen to be in the Pacific Northwest this weekend, you got to see it.
You know where I saw it? On the internet.
I didn't even see it on the internet. I slept through the whole thing. Did we even get any?
No, it was cloudy here. So
was cloudy?
You
Yeah,
couldn't see it in Vegas.
Well,
Yeah.
then I didn't miss any sleep.
They were saying Vegas spent millions of dollars on these glasses and the lunar or the eclipse stuff, and no one could see it here.
I'm starting to think that maybe the whole lunar eclipse is a giant fraud just to get us to buy glasses that make us think we see an eclipse.
Don't get me started on that. I mean, there's people out there saying, that the sun has a projector in front of it because the sun's dying. There's also the flat Earth theory out there. And
Oh, no, I can tell you right now why I know the Earth is not flat. Because if it was, all the cats in the world would have pushed everything off the edge of it by now.
And so another thing that about the eclipse thing was Trump took off his solar eclipse thing.
Oh, right,
and just looked at it. And they're like, oh no, he took his glasses off. You're not supposed to do that, safety reasons.
Did he really?
Yeah, he
He
did.
took it off and just looked at the sun.
There's a big, nice, crystal clear picture of him looking right
Well,
up.
I know you're not supposed to do that.
Well, you're not supposed to stare at it. I mean, you can, if it's there, you can like glimpse at it.
Yeah. I remember that there was an eclipse, I believe it was in the late 80s, and it was in this area, and it was complete. And it's pretty trippy. Don't get me wrong, it's weird. I mean, it's funny how the shadows cross over each other,
Right.
or double, or however it is. It was a very weird...
It's like a rainbow effect.
Yeah, it was a very weird day, but you know what? It's not earth-shattering. It's not that big a deal.
It'll happen again.
It's happening right now somewhere. It's just not where you are, because the moon is always between the Earth or the sun and someplace. Just happens to be out in space. So there's always an eclipse somewhere.
Yeah.
So, no, I think it's neat. Don't get me wrong. But apparently I didn't schedule my entire day around it because I slept through the whole thing.
Well, that and it wasn't passing through our state anyway, so it's like...
Well, you can still see it. It would have been like a
It's
75% or something for us.
Yeah, but I mean, is it really something to,
No,
stop?
that's why I just watched the internet.
Yeah.
NASA live streamed it for you, so.
Well, yeah,
Well,
as they should be. That's what they make millions and millions and millions of dollars.
So they can live stream a solar eclipse to you?
So they can live stream something to you.
Thank you, tax dollars.
So they can live stream something to you that you can look up in the sky and see.
Man.
That's because none of us can get too far away from our phones.
Well, or even go outside and face reality.
It's hot out there and bright, except for during the eclipse.
So some of the other things we're going to talk about, like I said, the lunacy of the left, a couple articles on basically some stupid things that they've done this week.
Right.
And then an update on the statues of Confederate statues, and
we also got I'm going to be talking about Monsanto and how pretty much it's finally coming to light on what they've been doing, what they have, and all that good stuff. So it's like it's finally the poisoning of the food and the water is finally getting out there. I think the last biggest thing was Aaron Brockovich bringing up the thing about Kraft all those years ago. So it's like
Excuse me.
you're excused. And
Excuse.
I did ask.
You did. And so it's finally, we're finally seeing the next step, I guess, for humanity and waking up to the fact that we are being poisoned, we are being drugged, and it's by these major corporations that don't give, two bits about you. So it's a good thing for all of us that they're actually going after the poisons in the food.
Well, I mean, we have to understand that every time they find a way to preserve a food or to prolong its shelf life, it's an experiment. It really is just an
And
experiment.
just watch what happens to the people that eat it.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it. I mean, a couple hundred years ago, they preserved food by just soaking it in salt.
And salt and hanging it.
Yeah.
I mean, still do it to a day, like meats. Yeah.
But my point is, when Monsanto's or Kraft or whoever says, let's try this chemical, and that has to go through testing, but, they really can't tell how long what it'll do over a course of 30 years. There's no experiment that can really do that, like trying it out for 30 years.
Right.
Now, do I think they do it deliberately? No. Do I think they do it with some knowledge or suspicion? Maybe. But I don't think they just say, hey, this element that we're going to put in the macaroni and cheese to keep the yellow cheese powder from sticking together so it makes creamier macaroni and cheese. Do I think they... Oh, by the way, it's poisonous? I'll go put it in anyway. I don't think they do that. No, I really don't, because no good business plan says, hey, let's poison our customers.
Well,
except for tobacco. They managed to figure it. They knew, but then again, there was a lot of money involved.
Well, I got 2 articles pretty much breaking it down and stuff we'll get into a little bit later. I think we'll start doing we'll hit up the update for the statues and what has been going on following the days of Charlottesville. That's actually pretty big, I think.
Well, that fallout will only last a few more days, and then they'll move on to something else. Somebody else will trip and stumble. Some other liberal will find an issue that'll make the news. Unfortunately, the dirtbag that committed the crime, his little episode with Charlottesville is going to continue for a real long time, and I think he should have thought about that before he committed his crime. And I think, and he deserves everything that happens to him.
Well, just a little bit of insight. Oh, you're talking about the driver, correct?
The driver, yeah. He committed...
So, a little bit of insight on him. He was actually a Obama supporter, a hardcore Democrat, and he pretty much, under the disguise of Republican, he went on, ran those people over. So
you're telling me this guy, the one they have in jail...
Yes.
The one they have photos of him standing in the lines with the Nazis,
right.
the white supremacists, is actually a plant.
Yes, and there's multiple plants in Charlottesville.
I mean,
on both sides.
All you got to do is research his history.
Well,
I'm sure he's got a Facebook account. Everybody does.
Well, and that's how they pretty much found out who he is.
Well, I hadn't heard that. I wouldn't put it past the left. I mean, they love that kind of stuff.
Well, there's also staged actors and everything else there just to...
Well, they're all hired to be there.
Right, exactly. So it was like what we saw in Sandy Hook with the crisis actors. Those people were paid off and everything.
I have seen advertisements for enthusiastic actors and cameramen out of the LA papers to participate in these rallies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're always Craigslist ads. I could put in a Craigslist ad for that. Now, again, not that I'm siding with anybody, or I for a second think the left is beyond such shenanigans. Actually, I think that it's probably more accurate. But I look at everything with a little bit of suspicion when it's superficial like that. When I could put a Craigslist ad out there right now and ask for...
Yeah, you can ask for anything.
I can ask for anything. I can ask for a barbecue with no wheels. That someone's got it out there.
And then someone will take a picture of it and then post it up.
So I don't put any credit or any credibility behind these little reports of these things, because it could just be 4 crazy right-wing guys trying to make the left look bad. And I'm not that the left needs any help, but my point is I need something that more substantiated.
You need something like the guys that actually posted the contracts that they had to sign because they were being paid by the George Soros.
Right. Yes, those are the things I'm talking about.
And a couple guys did come out in California just the other day, the Antifa group in California. Right. And they came out and just released all that stuff because George Soros hasn't paid them.
And so he hasn't paid them.
He hasn't paid them.
So wait a minute, let me get it. So this left-wing communist group who's all in it for the struggle and for
they need money to survive
for the cause. Well, no. If you're a communist, you do it for the cause. You don't do it for currency. That's so capitalistic of you. They will only riot for profit.
It's like
Right.
That's very capitalist. That's
Capitalistic?
Capitalistic?
Yeah,
I think that's a word.
like the Huntington Beach guys.
Yes.
It's the Huntington Beach Antifa group. They said they're owed $25 an hour,
Oh, that's some
Really?
good money.
and they have.
God, I'd almost cheer for the left for $25 an hour. That's pretty good pay.
So and then they're saying that George Soros doesn't pay them.
What?
Well-
Let me think. A Nazi collaborator trying to disrupt the political fabric of the planet refused to pay a bill. Shocker.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean,
So-
but
So,
but that's I think by these actions and everything, hopefully they finally see the light and it's like, man, we got duped. Hopefully they start seeing the other side of things. Maybe they'll switch sides. Say, look, these guys are really bad. No wonder what the quote unquote alt-right we're talking about.
no, they'll never see the light. You're a dreamer.
Oh,
no,
man.
because if you're that unmotivated in life that you would take money to fake a riot,
Right.
you don't have principles.
Well, obviously you don't, and we see it with this. Whether they're a paid actor or not, they're still out there. Thinking that their movement is really going to mean something. These guys can barely talk. Every time I'm watching the videos on YouTube.
Antifa, fascista.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. To this day, I can still see him running around banging that plastic drum. That's a guy who went to a rally on mushrooms.
Or I don't know. It would be even worse if he was sober.
Well, yes, that is true. If he was
If
if
he's
he
sober,
was intoxicated,
he's
got an out. But if he's sober and clean,
but
he's just nuts.
Even before the election and everything, we saw the Antifa groups out there.
Well, they rioted for like 2 weeks after he was elected.
Well, exactly, and even then, all they have is whistles and everything else.
You know what? Let's just project in the future a little bit. If you think they're rioting now and they're upset, wait till he gets reelected.
Oh yeah, it's going to be.
They'll have a collective
You're going to see
cerebral
cities that burn.
They'll have an aneurysm as a group. They'll have an aneurysm and die.
Well, that'd be pretty funny.
So I'll talk about
yeah. So get into the meat and potatoes.
college professors began direct support for Antifa groups on campuses.
Right.
So there's two professors. One professor is from Purdue University, and the other's from Stanford. The guy from Purdue, his name is Professor Bill Mullen, and the Stanford University professor, his name is David Palumbo. David Palumbo / Lou is his name.
Right.
And they're making these groups for anyone committed to fighting fascism. So Palumbo wrote in his letter for the invitation, since Trump's election, fascists, neo-fascists, and their allies have used blatantly Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, racist, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, and ableist messaging and iconography to recruit to their ranks and intimidate students, faculty, and staff.
Wow, we did all that?
Yeah, apparently.
God, the right's been really, really busy.
The alt-right, it's no longer the right, it's the alt-right. Yeah.
So he said the time to take action is now. We can call on all interested individuals and organizations to support or join the campus anti-fascist network.
Now, let me get this straight. So you're having an organization on school campus who openly want to overthrow our government. Am I getting that right?
Yes, this sounds like exactly what he's talking about.
These are professors trying to start these groups.
Right, exactly. So now you got paid teachers who are paid pretty much by the state, right?
Yes, again, you're correct.
Okay. So why isn't anybody doing about it? Who's doing anything about it?
Because they're going to tell you it's their First Amendment right, even though they're on the federal and state dime, educating the youth, which
indoctrination,
but
right.
You can't have a moment of silence because that would disrupt the very fabric of the space-time continuum, according to them. But you can...
The very fabric of time.
Yeah, but you can have
logic.
an anti-American hate group and you can support it wholeheartedly in the open without worry. Yeah, this is why the tenure rules have to be removed from universities.
Right, exactly.
So,
I mean, also, for the other side, pretty much the KKK groups and everything else are anti American,
Every week.
right? Anti-American also, if you think about it, because they're all for the Confederacy and all this other stuff, right? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, no, you forget. And there's a little article about that. This is the justification, because he kind of hit on it. And I won't go through the whole alphabet
it's
of BS.
in here as well.
Yeah, let me see if
I'm
his
just trying to break this down, not only for myself, but for the people.
Let me read what they said real quick. So that when they were asked, they said they do not advocate direct violence. Antifa has been criticized for engaging in violent protests around the country, including riots against conservative speakers.
Let's stop you again. I mean, when you have the flags and you have the armbands of the stupid double flags of the red and white, red and black flags, and it says Antifa on it, I'm pretty sure that's them. Unless I'm mistaken,
When you start asking these people like direct questions, like I guess they've been asked.
When they go into zombie mode and
Yeah, listen. So when asked about violent elements within Antifa, Plumbaloo told IHE that
sounds like a Jungle Book story.
They would reject some elements of the movement and would only advocate self-defense and defense in various forms of those who are being threatened by fascists.
Okay, but here's the logic that they use. And that sounds great if that's all they said, but they believe that words are the same as physical violence, so that if they think you're about to say something they don't agree with,
they hit you.
They can hit you, because that is self-defense against your
words,
verbal, physical violence.
Verbal physical violence.
Because that's what it is, because you're going to verbalize something.
Wait, hold on. So the words that come out of my mouth
and hit me.
Hit you.
Hit me. I have a broken arm because you said a word that hurt me physically. They're morons, okay? They are utter morons.
This is why they're saying Antifa groups on college campuses.
Where they're being taught by older morons. Okay, one of the things they said, I heard last week,
I don't think the drugs really wore off from the hippie years.
This kind of stuff isn't drug induced. Dude, this is organic brain dementia. One of the things they said, I heard last week that they said, and as justification was that they use violence. How was it? Oh God, I'm gonna get it right. They use violence to promote peace.
Well, just look at
that is so 1984.
This leads right into the next subject about the Missouri senator.
Yeah, well, just go get the metal bracelets for her and hook her up and take her to jail, because that's such a crime.
Right.
But my point is that the left uses this war is slavery, ignorance is intelligence. Well, I can't remember the exact ones from 1984.
But it breaks down into anarchy and chaos, and
then
eventually violence.
Their logic is up is down, down is up. As soon as they get you to the point where you don't know what's right, like we no longer know what to think.
Yeah.
They want it. This is all thought control. It starts with thought control, and once they've got your brain and the way you think confused and the way you look at life askew, then they can start to manipulate your actual lifestyle.
Right.
Look, global warming tells us that we should all live in houses with no air conditioning and not run a refrigerator because it gives off furon.
Don't drive your car.
Don't drive your car. SUVs are evil.
Right. Well, that's Obama down in Africa telling the Africans you can't have AC.
They shouldn't have AC, but he's got his.
I mean, flying around.
And his 5 mansions or whatever.
Yeah, flying around in his plane.
They manipulate our world a little bit at a time, and it starts with like LGBT, ABZ, whatever.
Right,
a few years ago that was a cross-dresser.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't said as a hateful thing. It was just that person.
You cross-dressed.
Yeah.
It's a dude dressed up as a woman.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Now, if you say it, I mean, there's a bill trying to work its way through California that if you don't use the proper pronouns to the person who insists that you use them, you could face a year in jail. Now, that law hasn't been signed yet. It's still working its way through state government. But do you imagine the insanity if someone said, you're using the wrong pronoun? That is making my First Amendment right against the law.
Oh, right, exactly.
It's the squelching of my free speech. If I want to call this guy over here a woman, a lady, which I often do.
Lady boy.
Or, not a lady boy, but if I want to use the wrong pronouns with him.
Boy here.
If I want to use the wrong pronouns towards someone.
Right.
You're going to jail now.
But that used to just make me a jerk.
Right.
Now it makes me a criminal.
It makes you a criminal, and your speech is gone. You know, imagine what they're going to do in jail. Imagine.
No, I don't imagine that kind of stuff. But I do. That's why I don't commit any crimes.
Besides all the other stuff, but if they're banning your speech while a law-abiding citizen, imagine you have no speech whatsoever, no say in jail at all. You know, are they going to put like the Signs of the Lambs mask on you or something like that, or what?
The other thing, just on a little transgender update, I haven't been able to confirm it, but I heard that Chelsea Manning is going to be on the cover of Vogue.
Yeah.
Okay, our country has literally fire swirling around the edge of the drain now. When a traitorous, well, I don't care if he dresses like a woman because he's a he, but when a traitorous
Charles Manning, or what is it?
Chelsea Charles,
yeah,
you know, whatever he's going by, when that individual who committed a grievous act against his country.
Treasonous.
And then was given a pardon.
He was pardoned by,
I don't care.
by Obama. He's loving.
But my point is, that's how bad we've gotten. And this guy is held up. He's now got a career.
He's a hero.
He's got a career. You know what? Andy Warhol was right. Everybody gets to be famous for 15 minutes. You just got to pick the weirdest way to become famous, and it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially nowadays.
You know? But you got to pick the side on the left, because if you do a right wing thing, you're going to prison forever. No one's going to ever hear from you again.
Yeah.
So, but it's just we are spinning around the edge of the drain.
Well,
at this point.
and that's why I keep telling everybody that we are coming to a singularity. So, whether it's spiritual or whatever you think, a physical manifestation, but it is coming to a head. You know, and you can feel it in the air. You can feel the energy.
Trump did do the tranny ban on the army.
Yeah, but
all the generals are not following
until it's official. They're not going to change it. They shouldn't change the policy until it's official. But I'm going to share something that I had a conversation with an army buddy of mine a while back, and we were discussing this whole: are we reaching a point where the country's about to pull itself apart? Yes, it is bad. But he related a story to me that when he was a child back in the '60s, and those of us in my age group, we remember the '60s, however briefly it was, that. His neighbor was sure that the Civil War was starting any day. There was the Civil Rights Movement, the Kennedy assassination, the Martin Luther King assassination. The country was in throes of it was pulling itself apart. This guy, he said, he was ready. He had a closet full of guns and some food, and he was ready for the zombie apocalypse or whatever was going to come, and it never happened. We thought it the same way when Bill Clinton was in office and the Rodney King riots started. This is it. It's pulling itself apart.
Right.
But we always managed to continue to go forward as a country. And I kind of believe that we're still okay. This is just... It's funny because when you're in your 50s, you get to look back and look at history.
Right.
And you go, well, this is the worst it's ever been. This has got to be it. You know? But it's not. I really don't think that Civil War is on its way. I think we got a lot of political turmoil coming up.
Right.
What it really is going to take, it's going to take a single good or bad act to snap everybody awake.
Yeah.
Well, what it really would take, and it happens every time, a good, thriving economy with jobs. Just got to get those people back to work. There's too many guys. They say most Antifa members are between the ages of 18 and 30. They're unemployed, white, affluent males who live at home.
Well, they're not unemployed. They're being paid to...
No, but my point is that this is a category
that's in a normal job.
A regular job where they have to show up and shave their face and wear nice clothes. But my point is that they're this group of well-to-do white males who are rebelling against the world that's provided them the softest living anyone in America's ever had. In history. 100 years ago, you didn't sit around on your mom's couch out at the farm.
No, you
got up and went to work, or your mom would hit you with a stick.
Or your dad.
Well, that's because Dad was already out working.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And because you knew who your dad was back then.
Well, that's a great point. You know,
well, at least someone who claimed to be.
I said this multiple times on the show. You know, during right now, as we stand, we have all the time in the world to do whatever we want. You know, we work 8 hours, we come back, and we're free. Or for those who don't even have a job, you know, who are off the living off the government, whatever. You have all that time in the world. You have 24 hours a day to do whatever you want. And before we were farmers and everything else coming in America, before it got all in this mega cities and stuff, we were out there in the field, farming and tending our cattle.
More
and everything.
agricultural, yes, we're a
Right.
little more spread out. The thing is today,
And so what I'm trying to get at, we have no time back then to ponder, to think, man, am I really a dude? Am I really who I say I am? Yes, I am. Yes.
well,
but
you're a male. I don't know if you're a dude.
Yeah.
well, you know what I'm saying. But we had no time to contemplate all that.
Well, yeah,
we were more interested about studies and literature and everything else.
Well, we were busy building the country, and
Right.
there was this much stronger work ethic. And I'm sure there were still people who were lazy and laying about, but they were ostracized. They weren't put on a pedestal and made famous or
Exactly.
or validated through their professors at school. Now, speaking of not knowing who your dad is, did anyone see the article on the statue that they put up?
No.
Because they were all tearing down statues. There was one that was put up, and it was promptly torn down. And it was probably the most offensive statue I have ever seen in my life or ever heard of. And even though it was offensive, it did make me laugh a little bit. It was the statue of the womb of the unknown father. Okay, look it up. I'm not lying. This is Okay, it was a statue or / piece of artwork of a African American woman, pregnant, and looking a little bit like the Statue of Liberty with the picture that I saw. And it was basically paying homage to all the baby daddies who are what we used to call deadbeat dads. And it was basically heaping praise on the hardworking single black African American woman. And I read through the article a little bit, and every African American woman who saw it was absolutely insulted by it. And it was torn down overnight the very first day it was put up, and everybody was, universally.
Right.
But there were a couple people like, it's beautiful. Some comment was a beautiful statue.
And I bet they had some crazy colored hair and piercings all on their face, like, oh, it's liberal, it's trendy.
Well, but the thing is, those people don't know what beauty is.
Well, absolutely. So,
but I just on the thing of statues, since the statue thing is coming up, I just wanted to mention that thing that I saw, because it was hilarious, and I was glad it was torn down promptly. I don't know who tore it down, left or right, but whoever did, good job. That one needed to be torn down because it was ludicrous.
Just real quick, with the whole statues thing, we got a lot of heat from the what was it, 2 episodes ago or an episode ago. I was reading the comments, posted down below, and one of them saying that we don't actually take a side on that we're trying to play the middle of the fence. Look, straight up, ladies and gentlemen, we don't condone white supremacy or the KKK or anything, or any racial groups out there.
I said that week.
Well, I'm just trying to reiterate it, and it's just it's.
We're not for either group.
Right, we're not for either group. They should be all labeled terrorist organizations. But at the same time, we do have our freedom of speech, and I think this is where people get confused with the freedom of speech. Just because I say, Lance, you got brown hair, whether it's true or not, I'm not calling for violence.
I do.
Well, I'm just saying, as an example, I think a lot of people out there got confused with the free speech and us supporting it. We support the free speech because everybody has it, and unfortunately, if your free speech hurts somebody verbally, it shouldn't really. It doesn't hold any value to it. Now, when you say, Lance, I'm going to kill you, and
that's not protected speech.
That's not protected speech. And I think that's where a lot of people in America get confused with the whole freedom of speech, especially with these leftist groups. And I throw the KKK and all this, white supremacy groups.
Because there are still things you could say that get you in trouble, like saying fire and like theaters.
Well, here's
that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Is
not everything's protected.
Well, not everything is protected. I'm going to kill you.
Like you can't say I want the president.
Exactly. I was going to say. Well, you can't say you want to like the senator.
Well, especially coming from a government official at that. So it's. I just want to make that point clear. If those people out there are watching, tonight that all speech is not protected speech. So we don't stand with the radical terrorist groups that are here in America on both sides.
So let me go ahead and start getting into the. Do we want to do the senator real quick?
Let's
talk about
senator, because this is kind of topical and it's been ongoing and we really haven't touched on it. And it's pretty juicy.
Her name is Senator Maria Chappelle Nadal. She's a state senator of Missouri.
Right.
And she replied to a post on Twitter that she tried to take down. She left it up for a little while, for like about, I'd say 15
And
minutes.
like we've always said, the internet's forever, so be careful what you post.
So somebody
always takes a screenshot.
So someone
something.
screenshotted it, and then told the news to look at this, and so they did. And basically, she replied to another person, and she just said, "I hope the president is assassinated."
Hope and wishing is pretty much the same thing in my book, you know.
Well, it's when you say that in a public.
And she typed it in and hit enter.
When you say that in a public forum, yes, it's free speech, but there are certain things you cannot say. You cannot threaten people. You cannot coerce or extort people with your speech.
Yeah, it's premeditated.
It was on her personal Facebook.
If that, you know.
It doesn't matter if it's a personal Facebook. I cannot go on my personal Facebook page and say that I'm going to kill my neighbor because guess what? The police are going to show up because that's not protected speech.
Facebook is.
She never said she was sorry for posting it either. She said
never
it was
will.
a mistake. It was a mistake.
No, it wasn't a mistake. When you
it was a mistake that she did it so people could read it. Yeah.
Right.
That's when they mean. That's what they say when they mean it's a mistake.
Yeah.
They don't mean it was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. It was like it's a mistake. I shouldn't have said it there.
Or publicly.
Yeah.
I should have said it privately. And that's the thing about Facebook, Twitter, and all of those social media platforms. It is just that. It's a public forum, so you can voice your opinion. So, even though they want to take down your opinion if it doesn't, fall in with what they say is, worthy of your opinion or not. So
many people have called for her to resign. People on both
Right,
sides of the parties.
Absolutely.
And she said she's not going to resign.
Right.
So the only way to get her out is by vote of their assembly, and they need 2/3 of a vote to get her out. They've already stripped her of her powers.
Yes, all her committee.
All of her committee powers. She's been stripped of them, but she's still a state senator until she gets voted out.
So anybody who wants to get involved, I'd say just call down there and pretend you live in Missouri.
This is Jefferson City. All you have to do is call the state of Missouri and ask for their offices, really.
Yeah, you don't have to pretend you're from Missouri. I'm sure they just don't. They don't want the heat for this, and we on the right have to express our outrage like the left does.
Yes.
When the left, because she's obviously left of center.
Now imagine this. You know, she's a black woman. Imagine this being a white guy saying,
let's just go with
during Obama's term.
That's what I was going to say.
Saying, during Obama's presidency.
Let's say it's Ron Paul.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
he'd
still be in jail.
Yeah, so say Ron Paul, satire. So saying Ron Paul said that he wants to kill Obama, or we should assassinate him.
Someone assassinate.
You imagine what would happen to Ron Paul? You know what I'm saying? It's wiped from the face of the earth, like Kim Jong Un's little firing line thing. Not physically being shot, but disappeared in that way. Like gone from the face of the earth. We'll never hear about Ron Paul ever again, and he's serving this, like 10 life sentences over,
Well, he would be politically and socially and ostracized, as he should be, if you make a statement like that about the president.
Right.
Not put in jail.
Well, if it comes up to the measure of jail, there are certain. I don't know the particulars on how the law works, because if you threaten the president of the United States, it is a criminal offense. You can be imprisoned.
No matter who
I
the
don't
president
know how
is,
much, or how long, or what does it take. What's the threshold between you being investigated, like they did Kathy Griffith, or they actually go, okay, we're going to take you to jail. They have taken regular civilians to jail for saying less.
Yes.
But so like I said, she should be ostracized.
She said loser post.
This takes me back to a little meme or a little statement that I saw.
I don't even know why the hell we're voting on this. Honestly, it
And
shouldn't.
she can't just be removed.
Well, I mean,
Just like anybody.
Well,
because you can't just go to a political official and go, you're done, you've lost your office.
Well,
it doesn't work that way.
When you threaten I would say, because you're in a federal position and you work pretty much for the government. I mean, wouldn't there be a
it's
step?
called, there's a process. It's called due process.
Right.
If she committed a crime, which in my opinion it sounds like she has, but I don't know, I'm not in law enforcement. If she's committed a crime and she's investigated for it and they deem that it is a crime, then they go to court. She has to go to court and then be found guilty of it, and then she's been charged with a felony.
That's the crime part.
But the crime part is what gets you out of office. Government officials in the state and federal government cannot be guilty of felonies and hold office.
Well, and then this is just, they can take a vote to get her out. They just need 66%.
Right. Well, I mean, that's within their body of the government.
Body.
Now, the Secret Service could walk up and go, you know what, she's
gone.
This is a gross act.
She crossed the line.
Yeah, she crossed the line, we're going to arrest her. Then they could just say, okay, she's committed a felony. And
Secret Service has arrested her.
Yeah, she'll be censured, and she'll be removed. There's different ways to do it. What she's done right now is just something that is a heinous act as far as,
calling for the assassination.
It's a stupid thing to say. And it should be treated. I mean, it's not. They haven't gone the legal route. Now we're going the social pariah route. She's a pariah. She should be a political pariah. They should just say, okay, what you said, you're
cut with us.
Yeah, you're done. You've crossed the line. We're going to take action inside the body of the state government. And now, if the federal government shows up with Secret Service and arrests her, then that accelerates all that, and then go a different route and have her done that day. Practically.
Yeah, once if Secret Service comes and puts her in cuffs, they're just going
to.
But
they're never going to do it.
Right.
They're never going to do it. I mean, that's why they're doing it this route within the rules of their state government.
It's only been like a week.
Yeah,
so.
And we know how slow this kind of stuff goes on. The key to keeping that in play and keeping it going on is keeping it in the news.
Exactly. Bring it up.
That's just like they do to the Republicans. When a Republican crosses the street against a red light, all you hear about it forever.
Yeah, well, at least a week. But yeah, it needs to be addressed. People in Missouri definitely need to call and try to expedite.
Both sides. I mean, you shouldn't call for an assassination of a
president.
president.
Well, exactly.
No. If it had been a Republican 4 years ago, I'd be saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I'd be saying the same thing. Yeah, it's just not because not that I have any love for either president or hatred, but it is still a president of the United States, and such an act like that would be so disruptive to the country. It's like an individual act of war against the United States.
And a lot of people are going to be like, oh well, Obama had tons of these people. So
I don't care. They all. I'm sure if they became public,
it's like, well, were they political public figures, state senators?
Well, there was a guy, and I think the state was. It was around the Missouri area. It's always in the South for some reason. It might have been Florida. He had billboards on his property that showed Obama.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I can't even say it. They're so offensive. He faced the full measure of the law because if he crossed the line, they would do something to him. Now,
but he wasn't a state senator, was he?
No, it
doesn't matter. State senator.
The law applies equally.
Yeah, regular Joe off the street.
Most of the time,
except to Clinton.
Yes. Most of the time.
Yeah.
That's the two-tier justice system. All of us and the Clintons. Wait, all of us, Congress. Clintons.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah,
it's just political offices in federal government.
It's really disgusting to see.
Sometimes
it really is.
I mean, he got out scot-free.
Well, I mean, this guy's a career criminal. All of them, Lynch and everybody else. Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned her name.
Lynch. Yeah.
Loretta Lynch.
Loretta Lynch. I always want to call her Rebecca. Loretta Lynch. There was a guy, I can't think of exactly who it was, but his last name is Lynch.
I remember this.
They wanted him to change his name because his name was offensive.
No, it was actually a hall inside a college.
That's right.
In Missouri. I think in Missouri also.
That's the South, I'm telling you.
And it was named after, what was he?
The guy who donated the land for the schools.
Schools so they can build that
it's a whole area. That's right. I read the article. It's a whole area. It was the Lynch Elementary School.
There it was.
They wanted to change the name of the school because they found the word Lynch offensive.
But
it's
even
the
though-
man's last name. He had donated
And it was
tons of acreage.
Irish background or something.
He was a businessman who had passed away, and in his will he had left years ago. He'd left acres and acres of land to the school district to put schools on, and they put elementary schools on, and they named one after him. There was another area, another school, middle schools, Lynch, academic, whatever. Several schools with his name on it. It's his last name. It's like saying Clark for Clark County. It's the same thing.
That's right.
But they want to remove it and change the name because the word Lynch could be considered offensive. Now,
Do you know the history of where all that lynching came from?
it's actually the guy who ran the vigilante teams.
Well, actually, it goes
For
back
anybody.
to the family Lynch. And it was a white family who
Just
actually.
give you the article so you can say it.
It was actually his family was hanging his own people, his home family. I mean, that's where it comes from. And so, his last name was Lynch, and it was a lynching that happened. So I mean,
It's not a racial thing. I mean, it turned into one, but it started out as just some guy angry at somebody else. Speaking of names that'll get you in trouble, this is the one that Lance found.
I'll say that for last because that's actually pretty good. Talking about the ESPN article, but we'll get to that in a minute. So California, actually, you know what? We haven't really pitched the shirts. We have the shirts for sale. You guys probably been here every week, but we do want to try and sell these shirts to make the show better, get back on radio, pretty much just fund the whole operation. So go on the website stanshow.com, purchase one of the shirts, and like I said, you're going to help the operation, help the liberty movement, and I think they look pretty cool. Anyway, so I mean, Lance has the white version of "Live Free or Die."
He has a more racist version of the shirt.
Racist. Wow. It is white and black. It's both.
Yeah, it's neutral.
Neutral color.
Yeah, Moan Lobby. I think this one came out really nice.
This is my favorite. I have to say the Mullen Lob with the across the AR platform, weapons platform with the state symbol. It's got all the things I love.
Right, exactly. And if you're from Nevada or Las Vegas, I mean, this is the shirt to have. I mean, it's two-fold message. So you got that.
All right. So what were you going to talk about here?
So a couple months ago, an article came out saying California lists herbicide, which is glyphosate and stuff like that, as cancer-causing, and Monsanto vows to fight. So this was a couple, like I said, a couple months ago, back in June. Now I read this and I was like, well, we'll see where this goes, because California really standing up for something like this doesn't really fall, and Monsanto is such a big corporation when it comes to stuff like this with the GMOs and everything, that I don't think this was going to go anywhere. But apparently it has, and so out of Political today, right, the 17th, a couple days ago. So Monsanto is going after the agency that was going after them, and so.
It's usually what happens.
Yeah, so now it's really becoming a huge thing. Hopefully we start seeing Monsanto being taken to court, and something actually is going to get done against Monsanto. Countries around the world are protested, for days to get Monsanto out of their country, out of their state. Like I remember the most recent one was Brazil, I think about a year and a half ago, where all the Brazilian people were in the streets protesting this thing. And so, they were, even though at the time it was not so bad as it is now. I mean, it was bad, but now it's even worse. But at least our people are informed more than our own, and, it's just really sad to see that a super third world country, to that effect.
Super third world.
Well,
Third world.
a third world country knows more about a horrible corporation that genetically modifies your food and sprays it down with all these chemicals and herbicides and everything, more than our own people here in the United States, which is the crown gem, in my eyes, of the world, and it's just horrible to see that. So, I think this is going to be a good fight. If California does pursue this and actually does legal action and actually takes Monsanto out of the stores and everything, which is the food and Roundup, which is like the biggest product that they got that contains the glyphosates that are actually cancer causing. With you read the article out of Politico, and it has all the numbers, testing and everything else. Excuse me. That show people actually getting who's exposed to this for a long period of time, and do have cancer-causing agents. I know a couple of my buddies who live out in the valleys out in Bakersfield and stuff like that, who used to live out there. They would see the farmers, in these yellow biohazard suits, spraying down the fields. And you think about, you look at the comparison back in the 60s or 70s, they were just in basic jeans and a t-shirt, trying to put their own pesticides out. What has changed? Why are they putting suits on and everything? Is it really that much worse from the 60s?
Well, okay.
Help me out here, George.
Okay, I'm gonna throw some not logic, but just
yeah.
So first off, I can remember if you spilled oil on the ground, it was just oil spilled on the ground, and you just cleaned it up and threw it in the garbage. Now, if you spill oil on the ground, it's a toxic waste.
Right, and everybody freaks out.
And the biohazard suits show up.
Right.
Now, as far as genetically modified foods, I hate to break this to everybody, but just about everything you're eating right now is genetically modified.
Right.
An ear of corn 100 years ago did not look like an ear of corn now, and it's not because they went in and they tinkered with the genes. It's the same way we have domestic cows. They modify it by through breeding and through cross-pollination. Corn, you realize an ear of corn now is 3 times the size of an ear of corn 100 years ago. And it's not because they're spraying with anything different. It's not because they're tinkering with it on a molecular level like like NASA. It's because someone said, let's breed these two good strains of corn together and see what we get. And they do that. It's no different than the guy who invented pit bulls or Maltese dogs. They just breed them to get what they want. If the product of the breeding provides you with a sample that you like, you breed it again. If it doesn't, you don't. Now, granted, there is a lot of chemicals used in our food. I will not argue that point, but not everything that these big corporations do, not everything Monsanto has done is bad. Now, is Roundup bad for you? Heck yeah! You spray it on a plant withers and dies. That's not good for anything. If it kills plants, it kills people.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now,
so don't eat the plant after you spray it.
What people don't realize, that Raid cockroach bug killer that you spray in your house every single whenever. No, it's not just poison. It's a nerve agent. It's a diluted version of a weaponized nerve agent that they use in the military. It's the exact same stuff. It's just 1 part per billion instead of 1 per 1,000. It's just a diluted version of it. And is it safe? No, it's not safe. If you're exposed to water all day long, you'll die.
That's true.
After a certain length of time. I'm just saying that we live in a world where things have been improved, a world where things have been scientifically advanced, and yes, the things that come with it are occasionally personal catastrophes. The person who invented the X-ray machine died of X-rays. They killed themselves with
gamma.
X-ray. Is it gamma?
It's radiation.
Anyway, with the radiation, they died of radiation poisoning. The name escapes me. But
it's not Hulk, man.
My point is that person discovered a fantastic
X-rays
way of looking inside the human body. That person made a giant leaps and bounds for the medical community in this country. But sometimes it comes at a cost. Now, like I said, is the agent inside Roundup carcinogenic? I would think so, because if you can spray it on a tree and kill it, to humans that's carcinogenic.
Right.
When Agent Orange first came out, they treated it like it was nothing. Now, if you had some Agent Orange right now, they'd cordon off a 5 mile radius around you, and hit you with a Moab just to make sure they killed everything. I mean, that's how they treat it now, because we have become such babies about everything. We've become whiny crybabies about... Here's the thing. If oil squirts out of the ground, it's a natural resource. But once it falls out of my truck and hits the ground, it's toxic waste.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
The point is, we've just gone a little crazy. Now, like I said, I'm not defending them. I'm sure they've done something wrong, but...
You want to see how crazy we can get, though.
Oh, we're crazy beyond pale.
So just finishing up the piece, it's just I think it's personally a great thing to see that the glyphosates and the things that are really bad for our environment are finally getting brought to light, especially here in the United States, because they don't get brought to light. And hopefully this grows and people get to see that, hey, not everything that you buy is really good for you. Just like George said, there was too much chemicals in the food, too much processed foods that actually, jack you with your body and everything. And it's just, they have the estrogen mimickers, they have all this other stuff that's really bad for your body. And, to a certain extent, we still don't even know what all the chemicals do, all the preservatives and everything else that are in the food. So it's really even now, organic food is not really organic anymore.
Well, most organic food, I don't know how to break it to you, but they did a study a few years ago, and I wish I had it in front of me, that most organic farms aren't.
Yes,
they
exactly.
pay for that certification. They know they pay for that certification because they know
will buy it.
That once they get the moniker organic, they can charge more for their product.
Exactly.
So when you're buying organic, no, organic is a new word for overpriced.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. The scam on humanity needs to be stopped. And we as citizens of the United States can at least stop it here, and then help the rest of the world later on. But we need to stop it somewhere. And I think this is where it needs to start with the Monsanto thing. So it's not just with the glyphosates; it is with the genetically altered food. I don't mind, like George said. If you take two of the best things, yeah, that's great. But you start seeing the mutations in the fruit and everything else, and they come out crazy looking. Obviously the products that don't make it to the shelf, they have crazy looking. I don't know how to explain it. It looks like if you were to take like a two-headed animal, that type of thing, where it's just not right. You have tomatoes on top of tomatoes, and it's just this bulk mass of just nothing really, because it's trying to be a tomato, but it's just so modified that sometimes what am I trying to say? Sometimes when they modify it, just turns out to a mutant type fruit, or vegetable. So I mean, it's just it's really sad to see that the stuff that we intake and not even blink an eye at it. So. Hopefully, people start looking at looking at what they put into their body, because ultimately, your stomach really is the direct connection to the rest of your body. It's like the gateway in. So, watch what you eat, folks. I'm starting to. Yeah, I know.
I was gonna make
a process.
Yeah, you've been watching a lot of food.
Yeah,
well,
so I have.
Watching it go in your mouth.
Yeah, well, I have, but now I'm becoming more health conscious again, trying to get back to the way that I once was when I first started the show. So,
well, my philosophy about food is if you just stay away from anything processed or carbohydrates, you'll be fine.
Or if you go full processed, you're good.
Yeah, either way, just go one or the other. If you just go eat nothing but macaroni and cheese with the yellow powder and
delicious
and margarine, you'll be fine, because your body will. It's when you throw in a healthy thing that screws it all up. No, but yeah, just. Except an occasional candy bar, pretty good. Occasionally, when I say occasionally, I mean about every hour.
Oh, nice. So, just put that out there. So we'll get into the wonderful madness from ESPN. I think that
that's one of the. I gotta say that's one of the. That is the phrase "that's a stretch." This is the best illustration of somebody taking something to its most illogical conclusion.
This almost tops everything that you have in your madness top.
Actually, my little stack of craziness. Yeah. This blows this all away, because Even I couldn't have thought of this, and I'm pretty demented. I'll read right from the article, so just so you know this, I'm not making it up.
So where's the article from? First off,
This one is from. Well,
Just read the top. Or...
the coverage.
yeah.
Thecoverage.com, little media site apparently. This is from ESPN. This is the organization. It pulls. Okay,
So,
I can't. You see, this is. I don't even know. There's no way to do it without. I can't get the surprise fact in here.
So ESPN.
Okay, I'm gonna do it backwards. Okay.
Okay.
They pulled an announcer off the show. He couldn't announce. He was a color commentator for the game. His name, Robert Lee. Now, those of you who study a little bit of history don't realize that's a name that's one. It's kind of common. And it was a Confederate general leading the Confederate Army 150 plus years ago.
180.
Was it 180 now? 60? Yeah, almost 180. 180 years ago, this general led the Confederate Army, and he had the horrifying name of Robert Lee.
Right. I wish the announcer had the E in it. That would just make it.
This announcer's name was
cherry on
Robert
top.
Lee. He announced for, they made the decision that Robert to switch games as the tragic events of Charlottesville were unfolding simply because of the coincidence of his name. Okay, right there, they say it's a coincidence, so that's the conversation should be over.
But it's not.
But in that moment, it felt right to all parties, which means it felt right to everybody but Robert. He got shafted.
Right.
Okay? It's a shame that this...
How dare he have American first name and his Asian last name?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I was going to get to...
Yeah,
he's
sorry.
an Asian.
He's an Asian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his name is Robert Lee.
Spoiler.
Yeah, so my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I just couldn't contain it no more because of the lunacy of the ESPN and everybody else. Man, the leftists just lost it. Man, they're gone.
It's a shame that it is even a topic of conversation. Again, this is a statement that when you say it should end the conversation.
But it doesn't.
And we regret that who calls the play-by-play for a football game has become an issue. It should never been an issue. I actually served in the Army with a guy whose name was Robert Lee.
He was a Confederate general.
You know, I knew him for years, and I never once said, you have the same racist name as that general.
I mean, who's thinking of that? Seriously, who's thinking of that? That was what at back then maybe 100.
ESPN was thinking of it.
Apparently ESPN was thinking of it, yes.
100 plus years ago. I mean, come on,
They
man.
probably just did a search in their employee database. Robert Lee. Oh, we got one.
Actually, that is probably closer to the truth than anything else.
I wouldn't doubt it either.
Let's put him on standby for a little while before.
God, could you imagine if your name's Robert Lee and you have a Facebook page? Can you imagine the names you get called?
I think it would be really funny, for those who are at home and have time, go on your Facebook page and just type in Robert Lee. See how many people pop up,
Oh, it could be. Here's the other thing. If we're going to go down that road, George should be an evil name too.
Oh,
Think about it. King George Bush. Oh, wait, George Washington.
Oh, that's horrible.
George Washington Carver.
You're done.
George Washington Carver, no.
Yes.
If we add up all the good and bad names, if there's more good names, do I get to keep mine?
No.
Or is it there's just one bad in there?
The
all
one
go?
rotten apple spoils it for everybody. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
You're done.
So George, either use your middle name
King George
or
ruined it for everyone.
George Bush, actually. The guys who were upset about the George thing won't even remember King George.
Yeah, no.
But then again, the name is of kings and presidents, so I don't know what will I change my name to.
I don't know.
Robert.
No, that's too close. How about
Abraham.
No.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I'll have to pick one. I'll let you know next
Mike.
week.
Oh,
No.
Charles
Charles?
No, I like Mike.
Manson.
Mike Porter.
You didn't hear the second name I gave you, right?
Manson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I like other than the fact that the guy was a psychotic killer, Manson is a name. Something about the name Manson. I maybe does because it holds that connotation. Marilyn Manson. That's a girl's name and a killer's name.
Oh, there you go.
So he combined them.
So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna think about my new radio name for next week, and it's gonna be something
You're a disc
historic.
jockey.
Right.
Yeah, something historic and something maybe horrible. I don't know.
But you have to be historic Confederate way. Like,
No. It's just gonna be. It's gonna be like
what was the Dukes of Hazzard's car name?
Generally.
General
Oh,
Lee.
you heard about what
Oh,
happened?
if you know that, you're a racist, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
And you know what happened to the guy that owns the General Lee right now?
No.
He painted over the flag on top.
What?
Such nonsense, because, you know, it's a decal on a car, for Christ's sake. Let's just all relax.
It's based on a cheesy TV show. I mean,
Cheesy, a bad TV show. I think it had even a worse flop remake movie. But
yeah.
no, next week I'm gonna think of something that's gonna be like historic and monumental, or something like Abraham Lincoln Tyrannosaurus Rex. I don't know.
Ooh.
Abraham Rex.
Abraham Rex. Oh, I like that. AR. Hey,
Oh, there you
AR.
go.
I like that.
But I'm
Why do they call you AR? I'm Abraham Rex.
And I like ARs.
Maybe we should do a little satire piece.
I mean, when the left gets like this, that's all you can do is laugh at them, because they want us to take them serious, and I think that's our weapon against them, is to not take them serious.
Right, exactly. You're using comedy
Well, when
against
they're
them.
pulling commentators off of games because of their name.
An Asian guy whose name is Robert Lee.
I mean, come
No,
on.
okay, I'm
Look
gonna.
at Rush Hour, Mr. Lee.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm gonna say his name wasn't Robert Lee. It was Robert Wee. Okay, that's how not Confederate it is. Okay.
I know.
They
It's
just had to change it to something that is
Oh,
English.
can you imagine? He's sitting at home going, "Those jerks."
not even jerks.
I got suspended.
I wouldn't even say nothing. I was probably 2-3 days after still
Can he file
sitting
a
there.
civil suit for that?
No, because it's
Part of the.
it's part of the whole political correctness thing.
Oh yeah, because it was all parties
Yeah.
agreed to it. Yeah.
Well, no,
I know he did not agree. I know he didn't agree to it.
I think even 3 days after of me getting pulled off that, I'll still be sitting on my couch, just with a blank stare, like, what the hell happened?
Like,
You know,
what did I do?
like still trying to process
See now,
what's going on.
in traditional leftist fashion, I know who to blame. Other than Robert Lee,
You
the
blame
Confederate.
him.
No, you blame his parents.
Yes.
for naming him
He's a
Robert.
victim now.
Yeah.
We blame his parents. He becomes a victim. He's cool. He can go back on the air.
Right, because he's a victim of his
parents
horrible,
His horrible
tyrannical
parents.
parents.
Well, if they've lived in this country, then they could be considered, Americans. So that just adds to the horror of it all.
Yeah.
If they're immigrants, then if they got here, if he's first generation, then there's some technicalities there. Because see, the left has gotten it so tangled and so confused, you're really not sure if you're safe.
Well then, I'm sorry to say, but they almost succeeded then.
Oh, they have. They got it so confusing.
Yeah.
They've got it so confusing that an Asian radio announcer cannot call a football game because his name is similar to a Confederate general from 180 years ago. Oh, by the way, they want to tear down a mascot because the horse in the mascot... USC, that's right. USC, the horse is named after Robert E. Lee's horse, Traveler. Okay. Now the horse is racist.
No, horse is racist.
Gotta get rid of the horse. And the mascot rides into every game on the horse.
Wow. So was he going to just walk in now?
Yes.
But the point is, this never ends.
So they're going. Wait. So are they going to have to change the whole logo, their whole look and everything now?
They're just the USC, I think, Spartans.
Yeah. Well, I don't watch sports, so I don't know.
I mean, it's just the horse he rides in on.
No, is it the real horse?
It's a real horse.
Oh,
It's
so that's easy. I can fix that for you. Just change the horse's name because the horse doesn't care.
Well,
Let's just call him Fred.
No. Needy, put the horse down. Put the horse down. First crimes.
For his own good.
First crimes against humanity. Plain and simple.
You know what? As crazy as that sounds, I'm
Yep.
pretty sure someone thought of it.
But
Besides
we want to be loving, so we'll give them a nice
euthanasia.
bed, euthanasia, and
we could grind him up and use him to feed dogs, but we want our dogs to be vegetarian.
right. Well, give them a bunch
So
of
we're
carrots.
conflicted there.
Yeah, just really sad that we have to put down. all the
Couldn't we
travelers.
just let the guy ride the horse in on the game and
No,
forget about it?
man. No, you can't.
They'll end up probably just changing the name Traveler to like Runner or something.
Yeah, I would just change it to Traveler. Okay, I'm not going to go down that road. I was gonna go down a whole other vein of what we could do, but
Yeah.
that's for another time.
That's where it's going. It's never gonna stop.
Well, I mean, same with the statues. I mean, they're going after Catholic statues of saints, priests and everything.
Yeah.
You seen that, right?
No, but I really have to say, if you think about a statue all day, you got
Yes.
bigger issues than the statue.
Well, no, because it's what the statue is
We're going to get to the
projecting.
point where we're going to knock down the Statue of Liberty at this
Oh,
point.
I've already said that. No,
Yeah.
they won't knock down the Statue of Liberty.
They'll deface
They'll
it.
put her in a jihad, in a hijab.
Yeah,
They will.
They'll just take it down.
beekeepers.
It's-
No,
Instead of her
but
holding
when they try to put her in a hijab, I guarantee you, it'll get taken down.
Well, no, the thing is, and we have nothing against the Muslims.
No, but that's the lunacy of the left.
the Sharia law, the radical, the orthodox. They're the ones who make their women, basically
Yeah.
personless. You not even know if who's under there.
Well,
I'm not. It's to deface them. It's to make them not have an identity.
Well, do
know?
you remember the joke that Obama or Osama bin Laden, I already remember his name, thank God, that they were saying that he might be hiding out as a woman in a burqa.
Oh yeah, I heard.
Because you
about
couldn't
that.
tell who it was, and I was like, well, the guy's 6'5".
Yeah.
Super
Yeah,
tall.
yeah. There's not too many 6'5".
Trust me, I was over there. They're all short.
That's all that food that's not been genetically modified.
Oh.
You eat that good genetically modified food,
Boom,
we
you get
become
bigger.
genetically modified.
Yeah.
So you got to lose a kidney or grow a third eye.
To radiation,
Small price to
you know?
pay to be bigger than everybody
I
else.
don't
Comes
know.
out with
I don't
a
know,
tail.
man.
Yeah, a tail, small price to pay.
Cut off. They'll never know. Just stitch it out.
Clippers every couple of days. That's what your wife's for.
Wow.
Okay.
You got to trim your tail. But yeah.
Grind my horn down.
Yeah, right.
Oh boy.
You guys are crazy.
Well, I
but-
think we've covered all the lunacy. That's how bad it is that we can't even keep a straight face when we're trying to tell you about it.
Right. I mean, it's
Because it's off the wall.
It's so off the wall. It doesn't make sense to logical, normal people. If you subscribe to the left's madness, you're
insane.
You're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess this wraps up this episode.
Buy a T-shirt. Get this one because I personally approve of this one. This is the one that everyone should own. And if they run out of this one, you can get one of these others.
Try not to
Wow.
be too crazy. Read about it and then laugh at it.
Right.
Don't join it.
So, anyways, purchase a shirt, stanshow.com. You can check out our other videos and everything else from there. I don't know what that was. And so, check out the archive. We have all the videos posted up there, for previous episodes, and you can check that out. So, for Stan Show, Shaylance, and George, for the Stan, taking a stand for liberty.
See you next week, most likely.
Yep. God bless and good night.